You know, Paul, you're getting to be a gay man of a certain age. I think it's time for you to start doing Kegels.
Why do I need to do that?
Because one of these days, you're going to lay on your back and spread your legs, and a man's going to find swinging saloon doors. Little tip. Men want to be knights laying siege. They don't want to be John Wayne moseying up and going, howdy partner in your bussy. And welcome back to another episode of Crips and Corks. I'm your host, DJ, here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual.
And if we seem a little low energy, it's because for once we're doing this after a work night, or on a work night after
Yeah.
work. So,
Girl, it's been a long day. It's been a long week. It's been a long month. We're only halfway through April. So much is going on.
We just did our live show on Saturday. I mean, this comes out so much later.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't. It comes out 2 weeks after it happened.
Right.
But, we're just, running behind from that. It was wonderful.
Oh, yeah, the show was great. It went very well.
Yes, I had so much fun.
We did great, if I do say so myself.
Yes. Yes, the only thing that I would change about it would be the co-host.
Me too. Yeah.
Just kidding.
Girl. No, it was a lot of fun. It was cool to, prove to ourselves that we could do a live show, and we could, perform in front of people and not, get on stage and, freeze up or, stutter the whole time or something.
And if you want to hear more about it, next month's on Cork that comes out on May 1st, we're just going to be doing a talk back about, what we thought of the entire experience. And then maybe at some point, we do have a recording, maybe at some point we'll share it with you for those of you who didn't buy tickets.
Yeah, maybe one day if you're lucky. We'll see, though. We'll see. We'll let you sweat it out for a bit and see if we let y'all do something like that or let ourselves do something like that. We'll
Anyways,
see.
Paul, how was your week?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about the bloomin' onion.
Okay.
From the Outback, you know?
You know, it's so funny you said that because I thought last week it's been a while since I've been to an Outback. And last night I looked at Rose and I said, I want onion rings. And what is a blooming onion if not a fancy onion ring?
It is a fancy onion ring, and that sauce is unmatched. The bloomin' onion is top tier restaurant. And I don't really like restaurant food like that. I'm not really going to the Chili's. I'm not really going to the Applebee's, okay? I'm either fast food or fancy when I'm forced to. I'm not really mid-tier, mid-level.
And when Paul says when he's forced to, I do like going to nice restaurants, and every once in a while I'll be like, let's splurge. And I'll be sitting there sipping my coffee after dessert, and Paul is,
because
when can I get up?
I hate sitting at tables like that.
He looks like a crackhead.
It's so forced, and you have to force conversation, and if it gets quiet, it gets awkward, and it's just a whole lot of pressure. And also, the food usually just makes me sick, so what's the point?
Okay, that's true. But when has a conversation between us ever been forced?
It's not even just, it's between everyone. It's everyone. You have to make conversation to make the dinner interesting, to make it fun.
Fair enough.
There's this unsaid spoken thing about sitting at a restaurant table is that you have to talk to each other and make conversation and keep it going. Which you'd think as podcasters, that would be easy. I could talk about random stuff. But I don't know, I freeze up sometimes when I'm at a restaurant table for God knows why.
Sometimes it's just nice to sit in companionable silence for a couple minutes.
Yeah. See, I'm fine with that in the car and things, but there's just something about the
restaurant, staring someone in the eye.
Right. How was your week? Were you considering the bloomin'... Well, yeah, you just said you were considering
I was thinking about onion rings, but that was because apparently Applebee's is doing, a new meal, and I saw the commercial and it had onion rings, and I thought, God, onion rings sound good.
Mm.
No, like we said, it's been a long week. Very tired. All the more so because I had my yearly physical yesterday, and I had to be up at between 5 and 6 to get ready for that because I made it very first slot at 7 o'clock in the morning so that I could do it and make it to work on time.
Right. He said physical.
Pretty much because my doctor she walked in and she was like, how you doing, hon? She looked at my shirt and she said, you're in excellent health. I don't even know why I'm looking at this. You're always in excellent health. And I was like, wow, this is like such a departure from my last doctor who once called me or said that I had all the stamina of a teacup.
That sounds homophobic. It sounds like he was trying to call you a slur.
He told my mother that she was pregnant with me, so like he literally could say anything he wanted to me.
That's tea. Well, did anything else happen? Anything else you would like to discuss?
No. Tell me about pop culture.
All right. So Coachella Weekend 1 happened.
Yes.
And the star in my...
I have a question. How many weekends of Coachella are there?
2.
Okay.
2. And the breakout star in my eyes, Benson Boone.
Shocker.
He slayed that shit.
That was sarcasm. Like, I've been saying for months, Benson Boone is the star. I discovered Benson Boone, and I've always said that.
Bitch, before I brought this up, not once have you ever brought him up.
Yes, I did, because I said I've been listening to this guy, and he, like... I was like, I don't know if he's queer, but, like, his music just makes sense for queer people. And I'm, like, listening it to on repeat, and he's kind of cute. And you're like, what's his name? And I said Benson Boone, and you're like, sounds homophobic.
Oh, my God. It does sound a little bit homophobic.
It does.
And
then you see him, like, in all of his Americana gear, and you see him in the mustache. But then you see him in the Speedo and the tidy whitey pics, and it's like, that man, somewhere inside, is a queer person.
He is beautiful, for sure, and he gave the showmanship. He did Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. He had the beautiful outfit, and then he brought out Brian May, which there was a lot of controversy because people didn't really react when he brought out Brian May, which if you don't know, he was the guitarist for Queen, which I didn't know. Yeah.
Queen had a guitarist?
Yeah, that's how I would have reacted to in the moment.
I'm awful. Maybe this is a generational thing. Maybe this is my own ignorance, but... I hear Queen, I think Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, exactly. Same. I would have not known who Brian May was either. And there's this whole, like, discourse online about how the crowd didn't give Brian May the love he deserved when he came out and stuff, but they just didn't know who he was. Like, we know Queen, but, like...
Yeah, also, like, Coachella is not exactly where the people who fangirl over Queen are.
Right. They're the people who, if you bring out, like, Billie Eilish, Charlie XCX, they're gonna fangirl. You bring out Beyonce, the girls are
like,
gonna die.
If we're talking about, like, an older star.
Mm-hmm.
Like, someone who, like, icon level.
He brought out Cher. Bitches are gonna die.
Elton John. Madonna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, his performance was great, and his new song, Mystical Magical, I'm so excited for...
Yeah.
It's such a good... He said moonbeam ice cream, taking off your blue jeans, dancing at the movies. Iconic. I want to dance to that song. That song is so iconic. And I just want to, like, have a boyfriend so I can, like, dance to that song with him. And just, like, one day. That's the only reason I'm ever going to get a boyfriend is just to dance to that song, Mystical Magical by Benson Boone, whenever he eventually releases it to the public.
Truth.
Because it sounds so good. I love that song.
Love Benson Boone.
Yeah. So, that's pop culture.
Okay. I know, like, at one point I said... Because I'm not, like, this is just my tea. I'm not a big musical festival thing. Just because I don't like standing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm going to something like that, I'm going to look cute. And if I'm wearing cute shoes, they're not good to walk around and stand in.
Mm-hmm.
I have tried it. It does not work. And I know I said to you once, if I ever became a Coachella gay, shoot me.
It's so expensive.
It's so expensive, but then, like, looking at the pictures from this Coachella, I was like, I think I want to become a Coachella gay.
No, those aren't our people. Trust and believe. Those are not our people. We're too weird. We're too, like...
That is true.
Spooky. We'll go to the Haunted House Festival, okay? We'll go to the Paranormal Festival.
We're very con people, and I don't know when we became con... I don't know when I became a con person.
Probably when we started a paranormal podcast. That's when we became con people, for sure. But,
it's not a bad thing. It's just not what... If I met my younger self for coffee and I said, you're a con person.
Yeah, younger me wouldn't be surprised about me. Now, younger you, I could see younger you being surprised about who you...
Younger me would have given older me a judgmental look.
Yeah, I could very much see that about you. Special mentions of Coachella, Charlie XCX, Icon brought out Troy and Billie Eilish. And then, of course, Lady Gaga. Congrats, Lady Gaga, for headlining Coachella.
Yeah, I heard it was like, everyone was like, please headline all the time. Like, she understood the assignment.
She put on a show. Homegirl brought it, and she did put on a show. So, congrats, Lady Gaga. Well done. Do you have any pop culture things you'd like to add before?
No.
All right, let's start drinking, girl. What are we
Okay.
drinking today?
We're drinking Villa M Berry.
Curious.
It is a specialty Italian grape wine, semi-sweet. And it's naturally low alcohol, which I did not know when I...
Right, we would have picked that shit up if we knew that.
This is the second time in a month I've done that.
Naturally low alcohol wine.
And a crack.
There we go. We heard the crack.
We did. I love how he stared into the camera.
It's bubbly.
It is a little fizzy.
I'm holding it up to the microphone so they hear the bubbles.
Good. I poured mine too fast and it got too much fizz, and I'm waiting for it to die down.
It smells good. It smells
See,
real good.
I always feel like if they smell good to me, they smell bad to you.
Yeah, we are kind of opposite like that.
Our factory systems are different. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, yes.
It's
Oh,
real
yes.
Good.
I don't even care it's low alcohol content.
It's like a fruity champagne.
Yeah.
That's really good.
But not as fizzy as champagne.
This is a perfect picnic wine.
It is a good picnic wine.
You take that outside and you sip it in the sun.
That's a good porch wine.
That would be good on a porch. That's a good wine. I would get that again. Was she expensive?
I don't think so.
Girl, I'm gonna get her again. I'm gonna have to look her up. I wonder what her credit score is.
I threw the receipt away so it's sitting at the top of your trash bin.
Yeah, it's not that important.
I could also just check my credit card.
True.
Anyways, are you ready to get into this week's story?
Let's get into it, guys.
Paul Corkies. Let me tell you a story.
Ooh!
Widelikoj stran molodaya, devushka szla через темный les, пока не пришла к избушке на крика, но скака. Она застреслась от страха. Оснознав, где она находится. Она просмотрела на небо, услышав кудак ташучки, шмек жашишни, лещащий на дне виштутки с пестуком. Она пришла в дом Baba Yaga. That was me butchering Russian and telling you a short story about the most infamous Eastern Slavic and Russian witch, Baba Yaga.
I swear to God, if you come on my God-fearing podcast one more time with some other language other than American, we're gonna have a problem. Alright? Because
I'm really sad. I have no expertise. Any native Russian speakers, I'm so sorry. I know I butchered that. I tried to write it out phonetically, and I just did not write it phonetically out enough.
Now, who are we covering again?
Baba Yaga.
Ooh, Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga.
Okay.
And it is, so a lot of people do, it's pronounced Babayaga, so a lot of people say Baba Yaga, but it is Baba Yaga.
Yaga. I kind of like that. I don't know much about Miss Yaga, but I'm excited to learn.
Yes, I
more.
think she's very up your alley.
Yeah, I know she's a witch, but that's about it. And I love a good witch. So,
Yes.
Tell me more. What's going on?
So, Baba Yaga is a character in Eastern Slavic folklore, especially fairy tales.
Okay, so like Grimm's fairy tales.
Yes.
Okay.
Very much like that, but the guy who the Russian Brothers Grimm was a guy named Alexander, and his last name started with an A, and I can't remember how to pronounce it right now.
That's okay. We don't need to remember.
But she is depicted as being an old and ugly woman with a hooked or crooked nose, sometimes made out of iron, sharp teeth, also sometimes made of iron, and sagging breast and buttocks.
Okay. You know what that kind of sounds like?
Me.
A casting call that Lindsay Lohan would apply for. It sounds just like me. Hit my agent.
She is often called Baba Yaga Kostinayaya Noga, which means Baba Yaga the bony-legged. Or
That's me. I'm bony-legged, bitch. One thing about me, I got a bony
and she is
leg.
depicted as having one leg that's just all bone, like no flesh.
Okay.
Or Baba Yaga Zelezinmi Zubami, which means Baba Yaga with iron teeth.
Is this whole episode just gonna be you trying
No,
to
that's
pronounce
it.
these things? Okay.
That's it.
All right, we gotta spare the people.
And now, Baba Yaga is not her name because she's not one singular being. It is a description. In many Slavic languages, Baba means grandmother, but it should be noted that in Russia, where the Baba Yaga stories are most prevalent, literally it does mean grandmother, but it is an insult that means ugly, old, stupid. So if you wanted to, like, and over there you do call, like, your elders, like grandma, as a sign of respect. And so in Russia you wouldn't call somebody Baba, you would go babushka. But because this is an ugly old witch, you call her Baba.
So, are you saying there's more than one Yaga? There's more than one Baba Yaga?
Yes, there's more than one Baba Yaga.
So, okay, so kind of like Bigfoot where there's more than one.
Yes, and I'm going to get into this in a little bit.
Okay, cool.
About how there might be many.
Oh?
Meanwhile, Yaga has no direct translation, and it may be a lost word. I actually found out during this that in Russia there is no word for bear.
Bitch out. I'm sure they got bears over there. What are they doing?
They have a euphemism, and it means honey eater.
Honey.
But the word for bear has been lost because people stopped using it.
Girl, honey eater's kind of cute though. I kind of like that. No, I kind of like the word honey eater. It reminds me of Winnie the Pooh, but it also kind of sounds like a slur for a gay person.
A little bit.
Like, oh, they're a honey eater, if you know what I'm saying.
Honey trap.
Ooh, I've had my honey trap invaded a couple times. Not welcome back at the Arby's after that. No, they don't let you back inside after that.
But there are similar Slavic words without the region. When I say Slavic, I mean like Eastern Europe, Slovenia, Lithuania, Poland.
Okay.
But the stories are most prevalently in Russia and in Ukraine.
Okay.
So when I say like, she prevails, and she's a little different in each region. And there are other Slavic words that sound like Yaga, and they tend to lean towards wicked, evil, horrifying, scary. So the closest direct translation we can get is evil, wicked old woman.
Evil, wicked old woman.
And so, like we were saying, with it being a description, there could be more. And in fact, in the fairy tale The Maiden Tsar, the hero Ivan is sent to speak to a Baba Yaga about where the mystical faraway tsardom was. She did not know, but told him to go to her sister, who was another Baba Yaga. The second Baba Yaga also did not know, and told him to go to their third sister, who was also Baba Yaga, but warned him that she was the most untamed of the three, and she might try to eat him, and if she did, to ask to blow 3 horns. He reached the third Baba Yaga, who did try to eat him, and he blew the 3 horns, and the firebird came and rescued him.
Like a bird that's on fire?
Like a phoenix. It's a
phoenix.
mythical bird. We're talking about fairy tales, Paul.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, like
I
a
didn't know if
phoenix.
it was like a plane or a real bird. I gotta make
Yes,
sure I know what's going on.
In medieval Russia, a plane, a Soviet bomber just swooped in and picked him up.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing at that time.
Now, there being many Baba Yaga, I listened to a whole fight over what the plural of Baba Yaga would be.
Yagas.
I think it's just like moose. You have one Baba Yaga, you have a house full of Baba Yaga. So the fact that there are more than Baba Yaga explains the fact why there are so many varying descriptions of her and why she acts so differently through all the stories. So if she is a real being, that could be why. There are just many of them.
I think I like Baba Yagas the best for plural.
Baba Yagas.
Yes! That's her main. That's how she attracts you.
Yes! Baba Yaga! Yes!
Come here, my pretty!
We're going to be in the bar, and I'm going to be looking for you, and you go, yes, Baba Yaga! Yes!
Okay, honestly, Baba Yaga probably is a gay icon. She's a gay legend.
She actually is.
Yeah, she's one of the dolls and the divas. We're claiming her like we did the Babadook.
She actually is. She actually inspired the Babadook.
Period. And get into that, you know? Slay.
No. Da, 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 da. Oh, it also explains why she's seemingly immortal, because in some descriptions, she is killed, but then she just comes back. She is said to live in a mystical corner of the deep forest where life and death meet, in a hut that stands and rotates on giant chicken legs.
I knew that part. Okay, I did know about the hut on chicken legs.
And in many of the tales, the house faces away from you into the realm, like the spirit realm, the land of the dead. And you have to ask it to rotate. And like no matter how many times you walk around it, you'll never find the front until you say the correct spell to get it to open up to you. Because it's a liminal space. She lives in this liminal space.
That's spooky. I like that. That's so weird. Do you think she ever tried to eat the chicken legs a little bit? Would you try to eat the chicken legs?
No, because they're not like chicken legs like you eat like the spindly part at the end. You know, like the real thin part, the clawy part, the scaly part.
You can still eat those. People do it. You know people eat chicken feet. It's just other cultures. And you know what? If you were starving in the woods and you came across this big-ass chicken leg, why not give it a little gnaw, you know? That's just free food. Meet Baba Yaga.
Moving on.
Excuse me for trying to survive in the woods.
Please comment below. Which of us do you think is going to survive longer in the woods?
I think we know the answer to that question.
I think we know the answer, but I want to see what they think. To get around, she flies around in a giant mortar and steers with a pestle.
A pestle?
Pestle.
That sounds crazy.
Do you know what a mortar and pestle is?
Oh, you mean a pestle. Mortar and pestle.
Wait, the T is in silent?
Not that I'm aware of.
I thought the T was silent. I was making fun of these bitches for saying
bitch.
pestle. Pestle sounds so wrong.
No, pestle does. Pestle sounds crazy.
Okay, she steers with she drives a mortar and she steers it with the pestle.
Period. And you know what? I'm going to start doing that too. I'm going to drive the mortar around.
And you know what? She also carries around a broom in the mortar that she uses to sweep up her tracks so that nobody can follow her. She's an incognito queen.
She is an incognito queen, and I appreciate that about her. No one's getting screenshots, okay? No one's getting proof. No one knows what she's doing. She's moving in silent.
Well, in a lot of these tales, like she is like that wise and enchantress witch character. So generally, and a lot of people come to her looking for something. So I can see why she wants to cover her tracks, because I want to grow up to be a Baba Yaga one day and just like live in my hut in the woods and have nobody bother me.
Do you think she didn't want to be bothered though?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe she did want the people there.
This is the second time this has happened. We're not even talking about anything spooky.
Is your iPad just like dying on us? Is that what's going on?
It just like
went black. That's so weird.
She's known for her love of eating Russians, especially children. And at the time that a lot of these stories are set, it was as the Russian people were taking over from different indigenous people and also conquering different lands, because Russia wasn't always as big as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So, and since these were Russian stories, like she goes like, I smell Russian flesh, and that's like a byword for I smell like a civilized person, and so like she's this old world character.
Maybe she was an alcoholic, because we know Russian
Oh.
Russian flesh that be smelling like vodka, honey.
Now,
She said.
well, in many stories, she is depicted as being evil or as a villain or obstacle. In some stories, she is actually depicted as being a nurturer or a guide. In the story of Vasilisa the Wise, Prince Ivan goes to Baba Yaga on how to rescue his bride. Upon entering the hut, she asks why he has come, and he says, Babushka, or grandmother, I have come to you in need. And Baba Yaga is moved and says, no one has ever called me Babushka, only Baba Yaga the bony-legged. But for you, in your kindness, I will give you what I can.
Not the bony leg gets me every time. What if we just start calling one of our friends?
Also, like, she's described as being huge. Like, earlier when I said, like, I'm covering Baba Yaga, you're like, yes, she's a skinny legend. I was like, no, she's not. Like, the whole point of her is she's not a skinny legend.
Oh my god.
She's actually described as, like, a lot of times she takes up her entire hut, where she will sit with one foot in one corner of the house and her other in the other.
That's so funny. That's so wild. I think it'd be so funny to be someone being like, look at that bony leg bitch over there.
No, like, is it in the depiction, she's got, like, a actual, like, leg that's just bone.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
Which
just
we're
funny.
gonna talk about in a minute. In some stories, she is a witch or an enchantress. In others, she is an ogre or a monster, and in some, she's just a cannibal.
Oh.
She's a verse queen.
Versatility. I'm here for it. I'm here for the versatility.
Now, you're probably wondering, like, where... Like, this is all over the place. Like, we can't pin down what she is. We can't pin down what she stands for. We can't even find out where she lives, other than in a house on chicken feet.
She's an ethereal being. You don't know where they're living, what they're doing. She's doing her own thing.
I'm glad you said that.
She's not tied down to anything or anyone.
So, one tale, and, like, this goes no further. It's just interesting. But in one tale, it says that she is the grandmother of the devil.
Ooh, I like that.
Which I think is just like a harkening of like, oh, she's so evil. She's the grandmother of the devil. Like, she's the original evil.
I like that. That's an interesting thing.
But also, like, it's a throwaway comment like, don't go to Baba Yaga. She is the grandmother of the devil.
Honestly, though, like, when I think about Russians, I do feel like one of their monsters being the mother of the devil, that just makes sense because they're a scary, intense people.
They are, but also, like, so I'm going to get into my next theory.
Okay.
And it is that she is an ancient forest or earth deity dating from ancient pagan worship. And that she slowly, like, just evolved to fit into the Christian folklore
I like that
of modern
too.
Russia.
No, I like that too. Her being an ancient being that
Yes.
kind of adapted.
Especially so, she is seen as a protector of the forest or the land. And she has a reverence from animals and other, like, parts of nature, which we're going to discuss through other stories. I don't want to give too much away because I thought it would be fun, like, with this being folklore, talk about, like, what she is in a little bit, and then just, like, get into the stories of Baba Yaga.
Mm-hmm.
But, so just, like, this idea that she's an earth one, and it also lends to, like, why she doesn't have any, like, strict moral, she doesn't have that Christian moral compass. She's just nature, which is, I can see how, like, nature could be personified as... I'm going to spare you, but you are going to die. Because that's what I feel like.
Yeah, it is giving, like, the old gods. It's giving, like, pagan gods. It's giving Greek, Roman gods, for sure.
Another theory stems that from the Finno-Ugric people, who would build dolls that they called yagas, which they would dress in fur coats and put in special huts on stilts in their yards as a way to communicate with their dead ancestors.
That don't make sense. How you communicating with...
Well, you know, like, they didn't have like statues, so they would make this doll and put it in a hut, and they would leave offerings and pray.
Oh, okay, that
Yeah,
makes
like
sense.
ancestor worship.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
As the Rus people moved into the area, they referred to these Yagas as golden babas or golden grandmothers because they were meant to represent ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And they were painted gold.
Okay, nice, nice.
And I'm sure you will be glad to know that in modern times, feminists have actually reclaimed Baba Yaga.
Period. I love to hear that. Love to hear that.
Her rejection of traditional feminine roles within the patriarchy, her holding power over most male characters she encounters, as well as her role as a nurturer of nature have inspired many. Also, her often described hideous appearance seems to be a rejection of a world increasingly enraptured by physical attractiveness. And also, she's seen as very androgynous, so she's also kind of like been embraced by trans feminist people, like theorists, such as she's very much in the world she inhabits. Man and woman is very defined, and she straddles it. She's not beautiful. She's not dainty. She's not strong and like the men. She's just like in between, and she has no moral compass, and even like the bony leg could be a phallic symbol.
Mm-hmm. I knew she'd be a liberal queen. We're standing Baba Yaga so far. She's doing the thing, Miss Yaga. Yagaga, if you will.
So just to finish this section out on the description of Baba Yaga, I want to read, and this comes from the queer feminist.
Just say liberal media, and
No,
we'll be good.
no,
girl.
it's an actual publication.
Okay, well,
It's
it
from
out,
the
girl.
Queer Feminist Ecological Dossier.
Okay,
And if you type in Queer Feminist Ecological Dossier, it will come out.
as I'm sure all of you will.
It is a stimulating read. Baba Yaga is a formidable character of Russian folklore. The female characters of most Russian folktales are generally quiet, docile, and in need of saving by blonde, blue-eyed heroes named Ivan. Unlike these dutiful maidens, Baba Yaga is an androgynous and anarchist witch.
Cool. Anarchy.
Yeah, well, it says anarchic witch.
Mm-hmm.
She embodies the archetype of the cranky crone. She lives alone in the woods, rejects household labor, repurposes the mortar and pestle for high-speed transportation, uses her broom as an anti-tracking device, commands the undead, and cannibalizes. Baba Yaga is shape-shifting and gender ambiguous. She is by turn gatekeeper, helper, or child eater. She is an amalgamation of many. Baba Yaga intimidates hapless young men and unformed heroes, taunting, tormenting, or testing them. Sometimes she uses them as transport to carry across the dark forest, their backs heaving, legs aching. She wields power over the dragon Shudo Yudo, commands Koshei the Deathless, and controls the three horse riders, the White Day, the Red Sun, and the Black Knight. At times she turns into a beautiful youthful figure, misleading and deceiving. Baba Yaga straddles the border between life and death, the ultimate polarities of existence.
That's really interesting. And it's really interesting how they were talking about how she commands different people and things. That's definitely giving, like, pagan, like, Greek, Roman god, whatever.
Yes. Very old god of old.
Right, right.
Did you want me to top you up as well?
Sure, let's get into it.
You can tell this is a low alcohol.
I don't know, I'm feeling it a little bit, I guess. Just a tiny bit.
It's just very nice. And welcome back.
We're switching gears.
There's probably
guys.
a cut in there, and no longer do I have my tablet, but now I have my laptop, and I have my glasses on because it's smaller. So now, Paul, I'm just going to tell some stories, and after I finish the stories, we can talk about them.
Okay,
So
let's get into it.
This first story is the longest description of a Baba Yaga, and it is also the most famous depiction.
Okay.
And this is a story called Vasilisa the Beautiful.
Vaseline.
Yes. Long, long ago, in a certain tsardom, there lived an old man and an old woman and their daughter Vasilisa. They had only a small hut for a home, but their life was a peaceful and happy one. However, even the brightest of skies may become overcast, and misfortune stepped over their threshold at last. The old woman fell gravely ill, and feeling that her end was near, she called Vasilisa to her bedside, gave her a little doll, and said, "Do as I tell you, my child. Take good care of this little doll, and never show it to anyone. If ever anything bad happens to you, give the doll something to eat, and ask its advice. It will help you out in all your troubles." And giving Vasilisa a last parting kiss, the old woman died. The old man sorrowed and grieved for a time, and then he married again. He had thought to give Vasilisa a second mother, but he gave her a cruel stepmother instead. The stepmother had two daughters of her own, two of the most spiteful, mean, and hard to please young women that had ever lived. The stepmother loved them dearly and was always kissing and coddling them, but she nagged at Vasilisa and never let her have a moment's peace. Vasilisa felt very unhappy for her stepmother and stepsisters kept chiding and scolding her and making her work beyond her strength. They hoped that she would grow thin and haggard with too much work, and that her face would turn dark and ugly in the wind and sun. All day long they were at her, one or the other of them shouting, "Come, Vasilisa, where are you? Vasilisa, fetch the wood, don't be slow. Start a fire, mix the dough. Wash the plates, milk the cow. Scrub the floor, hurry now. Work away and don't take all day."
Is that it?
No.
Okay.
We haven't even gotten to Baba Yaga yet.
Okay, that's what. This is sounding a lot like Cinderella if Cinderella was made out of Vaseline. Vasilisa just is the funniest fucking name.
Would you like me to just call her Lisa? Well,
No, we
no, I'm
have
not going to insult the Russian people.
There's nothing wrong with being made out of Vaseline, DJ.
Vasilisa did all she was told to do. She waited on everyone and always got her chores done on time. And with every day that passed, she grew more and more beautiful. Such was her beauty as could not be pictured and could not be told, but was a true wonder and joy to behold. And it was her little doll that helped Vasilisa in everything. Early in the morning, Vasilisa would milk the cow, and then, locking herself in the pantry, she would give some milk to the doll and say, "Come, little doll, drink your milk, my dear, and I'll pour out all my troubles in your ear." And the doll would drink the milk and comfort Vasilisa and do all her work for her. Vasilisa would sit in the shade, twining flowers into her braid, and before she knew it, the vegetable beds were weeded, the water brought in, the fire lighted, and the cabbage watered. The doll showed her a herb to be used against sunburn, and Vasilisa used it and became more beautiful than ever. One day, late in the fall, the old man set out from home and was not expected back for some time. The stepmother and the three sisters were left alone. They sat in the hut, and it was dark outside and raining, and the wind was howling. The hut stood at the edge of a dense forest, and in the forest there lived Baba Yaga, a cunning witch and sly, who gobbled people up in the wink of an eye. I also loved how half of this rhymes and the other half doesn't.
I like the rhyming. There's something about a nice rhyme that gets me there.
Now to each of the three sisters the stepmother gave some work to do. The first she set to weaving lace, the second to knitting stockings, and Vasilisa to spinning yarn. Then, putting out all the lights in the house except for a single splinter of birch that burnt in the corner where the three sisters were working, she went to bed. The splinter crackled and snapped for a time and then went out. "What are we to do?" cried the stepmother's two daughters. "It is dark in the hut and we must work. One of us will have to go to Baba Yaga's house to ask for a light." "I'm not going," said the elder of the two. "I am making lace and my needle is bright enough for me to see by." This is probably not the best voice for the not witches.
Yeah, it's giving witch, and it's like triggering me a little bit, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It just makes me very on edge.
"I'm not going either," said the second. Valley Girl is perfect for them.
Period. Valley Girl is good.
"I am not going either," said the second. "I am knitting stockings, and my two needles are bright enough for me to see by." Then, both of them shouting, "Vasilisa is the one. She must go for the light. Go to Baba Yaga's house this minute, Vasilisa."
She's not even a real girl. She's made out of Vaseline. Send the Vaseline, girl.
Old Whitey, that you.
Oh my god.
They pushed Vasilisa out of the hut. The blackness of night was about her, and the dense forest, and the wind and wind. Vasilisa was frightened. She burst into tears, and she took out her little doll from her pocket. "Oh, my dear little doll," she said between sobs, "they are sending me to Baba Yaga's house for a light, and Baba Yaga gobbles people up, bones and all." "Never you mind," the doll replied. "You'll be all right. Now nothing bad can happen to you while I'm with you." "Thank you for comforting me, little doll," said Vasilisa, and she set off on her way. About her the forest rose like a wall, and in the sky above there was no sign of the bright crescent moon, and not a star shone. Vasilisa walked along, trembling and holding the little doll close. All of a sudden, whom should she see but a man on horseback galloping past? He was clad all in white. His horse was white, and the horse's harness was of silver and gleamed white in the darkness. It was dawning now, and Vasilisa trudged on, stumbling and stubbing her toes against tree roots and stumps. Drops of dew glistened on her long plait of hair, and her hands were cold and numb. Suddenly, another horseman came galloping by. He was dressed in red. His horse was red, and the horse's harness was red too. The sun rose. It kissed Vasilisa and warmed her and dried the dew on her hair. Vasilisa never stopped, but walked on for a whole day, and it was getting on toward evening when she came on to a small glade. She looked, and she saw a hut standing there. The fence round the hut was made of human bones, and crowned with human skulls. The gate was no gate, but the bones of men's legs. The bolts were no bolts, but the bones of men's arms. And the lock was no lock, but a set of sharp teeth. Vasilisa was horrified and stood stock still. Suddenly a horseman came riding up. He was dressed in black. His horse was black, and the horse's harness was black too. The horseman galloped up to the gate and vanished as if into thin air. Night descended, and lo, the eyes of the skulls crowning the fence began to glow, and it became as light as if it was day. Vasilisa shook with fear. She could not move her feet, which seemed to have frozen to the spot, and refused to carry her away from this terrible place. All of a sudden she felt the earth trembling and rocking beneath her, and there was Baba Yaga flying up in a mortar, swinging her pestle like a whip, and sweeping the tracks away with a broom. She flew up to the gate, and sniffing the air cried, "I smell Russian flesh! Who is here?" Are you triggered again? Are you triggered again?
I'm gonna lick the vodka off your flesh.
Vasilisa came up to Baba Yaga, bowed low to her, and said very humbly, "It is I, Vasilisa, Babushka. My stepsister sent me to you to ask for a light." "Oh, it's you, is it?" Baba Yaga replied. "Your stepmother is a kinswoman of mine. Very well, then stay with me for a while and work, and then we'll see what is to be seen." And she shouted at the top of her voice, "Come unlock my bolt so strong, open up my gate so wide." The gate swung open. Baba Yaga rode in her mortar, and Vasilisa walked in behind her. Now at the gate there grew a birch tree, and it made as if to lash Vasilisa with its branches. "Do not touch the maid, birch tree. It was I who brought her," said Baba Yaga. They came to the house, and at the door there lay a dog, and it made as if to bite Vasilisa. "Do not touch the maid. It was I who brought her," said Baba Yaga. They came inside, and in the passage an old grumbler nibbler of a cat met them, and made as if to scratch Vasilisa. "Do not touch the maid. It was I who brought her," said Baba Yaga. "You see, Vasilisa," she added, turning to her, "it is not easy to run away from me. My cat will scratch you, my dog will bite you, my birch tree will lash you and put out your eyes, and my gate will not open to let you out." Baba Yaga came into her room, and she stretched out on a bench. "Come, maid, give us something to eat," she cried. And the maid ran in and began to feed Baba Yaga. She brought her a pot of borscht and half a cow, 10 jugs of milk and a roasted sow, 20 chickens and 40 geese, 2 whole pies and an extra piece, cider and mead and home-brewed ale, beer by the barrel and kvass by the pail. Baba Yaga ate and drank up everything, but she only gave Vasilisa a chunk of bread. "And now, Vasilisa," she said, "take this sack of millet and pick it over seed by seed, and mind that you take out all the black bits, for if you don't, I shall eat you up." And Baba Yaga closed her eyes and began to snore. Vasilisa took the piece of bread, put it before her little doll, and said, "Come, little doll, eat this bread, my dear. I'll pour out all my troubles in your ear. Baba Yaga has given me a hard task to do, and she threatens to eat me up if I do not do it." Said the doll in reply, "Do not grieve and do not weep, but close your eyes and go to sleep, for morning is wiser than an evening." And the moment Vasilisa was asleep, the doll called out in a loud voice, "Tomtits, pigeons, sparrows, hear me, there is work to do. I fear me, on your help, my feathered friends. Vasilisa's life depends. Come in and answer to my call. You are needed, one and all." And the birds came flying from all sides, flocks and flocks of them, more than eye could see or tongue could tell. They began to chirp and to coo, to set up a great to-do, and to pick over the millet seed by seed, very quickly indeed. Into the sack the good seeds went, and the black went into the chop, and before they knew it, the night was spent, and the sack was filled to the top. They had only just finished when the white horseman galloped past the gate on his white horse. Day was dawning. Baba Yaga woke up and asked, "Have you done what I told you to do, Vasilisa?" "Yes, it is all done, babushka." Baba Yaga was very angry, but there was nothing more to be said. "Humph!" she snorted. "I'm off to hunt, and you take that sack yonder. It's filled with peas and poppy seeds. Pick out the peas from the seeds and put them into 2 separate heaps. And mind you now, if you do not do it, I shall eat you up." Baba Yaga went out into the yard and whistled, and the mortar and pestle swept up to her. The red horseman galloped past, and the sun rose. Baba Yaga got into the mortar and rode out of the yard, swinging her pestle like a whip, and whisking the tracks away with a broom. Vasilisa took a crust of bread, fed her little doll, and said, "Do take pity on me, little doll, my dear, and help me out." And the little doll called out in ringing tones, "Come to me, O mice of the house, the barn and the field for thee. There is work to be done." And the mice came running, swarms and swarms of them, more than eye could see or tongue could tell, and before the hour was up, the work was all done. It was getting on towards evening, and the maid set the table and began to wait for Baba Yaga's return. The black horseman galloped past the gate, and night fell, and the eyes of the skulls crowning the fence began to glow. And now the trees groaned and crackled, and the leaves rustled, and Baba Yaga, this cunning witch and sly, who gobbled people up in the wink of an eye, came riding home. "Have you done what I've told you to do, Vasilisa?" "Yes, it's all done, babushka." Baba Yaga was very angry, but what could she say? "Well, then, go to bed. I'm going to turn in myself in a minute." Vasilisa went behind the stove, and she heard Baba Yaga say, "Light the stove, maid, and make the fire hot. When I wake up, I shall roast Vasilisa." And Baba Yaga lay down on a bunch, placed her chin on a shelf, covered herself with her foot, and began to snore so loudly that the whole forest trembled and shook. Vasilisa burst into tears, and taking out her doll, put a crust of bread before it. "Come, little doll, have some bread, my dear, and I'll pour out all my troubles in your ear, for Baba Yaga wants to roast me and to eat me up," said she. And the doll told her what she must do to get out of trouble without more ado. Vasilisa rushed to the maid and bowed low to her. "Please, maid, help me," she cried. "When you are lying in the stove, pour water over the wood so it does not burn the way it should. Here is my silken kerchief for you to reward for your trouble," said the maid in reply. "Very well, my dear, I shall help you. I shall take a long time heating the stove, and I shall tickle Baba Yaga's heels and scratch them too, so she may sleep very soundly the whole night through. And you run away, Vasilisa." "But won't the 3 horsemen catch me and bring me back?" "Oh, no," replied the maid. "The white horseman is the bright day, the red horseman is the golden sun, and the black horseman is the black night, and they will not touch you." Vasilisa ran out into the passage, and the cat rushed at her, and she was about to scratch her, but she threw him a pie, and he did not touch her. Vasilisa ran down from the porch, and the dog darted out and was about to bite her, but she threw him a piece of bread, and the dog let her go. Vasilisa started running out of the yard, and the birch tree tried to lash her and to put out her eyes, but she tied it with a ribbon, and the birch tree let her pass. The gate was about to shut before her, but Vasilisa greased its hinges and it swung open. Vasilisa ran into the dark forest, and just then the black horseman galloped by, and it became pitch black all around. How was she to go back home without a light? What would she say? What would her stepmother do? So she asked the little doll to help her, and did what the little doll told her to do. She took one of the skulls from the fence, and mounting it on a stick, set off across the forest. Its eyes glowed, and by their light the day was as bright as night. As for Baba Yaga, she woke up and stretched, and seeing that Vasilisa was gone, rushed out into the passage. "Did you scratch Vasilisa? She ran past, cat," she demanded. And the cat replied, "No, I let her pass, for she gave me a pie. I served you for 10 years, Baba Yaga, and you never gave me so much as a crust of bread." Baba Yaga rushed out into the yard. "Did you bite Vasilisa, my dog?" she demanded. Said the dog in reply, "No, I let her pass, for she gave me some bread. I served you for ever so many years, but you never gave me so much as a bone." Birch tree, Baba Yaga roared. "Did you put out Vasilisa's eyes?" "No, I let her pass, for she bound my branches with a ribbon. I've been growing here for over 10 years, and you never even tied them with a string." Baba Yaga ran to the gate. Gate! Did you shut before her that Vasilisa might not pass?" "No, I let her pass, for she greased my hinges. I served you for forever, but you never even put water on them." Baba Yaga flew into a temper. She began to beat the dog and thrash the cat and to break down the gate, to chop down the birch tree, and she was so tired that by the end she forgot all about Vasilisa. Vasilisa ran home, and she saw that there was no light on in the house. Her stepsisters rushed out and began to shout and scold her. "What took you so long fetching the light?" they demanded. "We cannot seem to keep one on in the house at all. We have tried to strike a light again and again, but to no avail. And the one we got from the neighbors went out the moment it was brought in. Perhaps yours will keep burning." They brought the skull into the hut, and its eyes fixed themselves on the stepmother and her 2 daughters and burnt them like fire. The stepmother and her daughters tried to hide, but run where they would, the eyes followed them and never let them out of their sight. By morning they were burnt to a cinder, all 3, and only Vasilisa remained unharmed. She buried the skull outside the hut, and a bush of roses grew up on the spot.
That's a lot for a little Vaseline girl.
Yeah, and it continues. She moves in with an elderly neighbor, and she starts making some lace, and she gives it to the Tsar, and the Tsar falls in love with her, and she becomes the queen, and her father moves in with her. But that wasn't important to the story of Baba Yaga.
So Baba Yaga was just like a sidestep in her story, really.
Yes, very rarely is Baba Yaga the main character.
Okay.
She is either a guide or an obstacle or a villain.
It really is interesting how similar to Cinderella that story was.
Yes, it was very similar to Cinderella. But also, like, it does give so much information about Baba Yaga. I mean, the house with the bones, like it's made out of bones, and how she commands animals and nature, and even like the day, the night, and the sun.
Right. I do like that. Like we said before, how she's that ethereal being. She kind of exists in her own realm, because like forests like that, when you go deep into the forest, it kind of is like its own realm, and like
a liminal space almost.
Exactly, with no one else around and stuff. It's like time almost doesn't exist in places like, well, I guess that's what a liminal space is.
It's like, so growing up, I lived by a park, and on one side there was this playground, but it was like all very shaded with pine trees, and it was very hilly. And then there was a patch of woods, and it wasn't very big, like not even like a quarter of a mile, but like far enough that once you like got into the middle of it, you couldn't see in any direction, like the way like what the outside looked like. And when you got to the other side, there was this huge clearing, and it was totally flat. So the woods was like a liminal space that almost seemed like you're in a place in between. And that's what woods really are.
They're an in-between place, like untouched by man, like probably the closest thing you can get to getting back to nature. Getting back to the spirit.
It is getting back to nature.
Very, yeah. Girl.
Excuse me.
Maybe that wine isn't as low alcohol as they're saying. No, Baba Yaga really is that girl, though. Like, not in that story, but,
No.
like, in regards to the feminism and, like, being a powerful woman who doesn't need a man and things like that. Like,
Yes.
we stand.
Oh, Hang on. Okay, yeah, no, that's too long. But there's another version. It's in this beautiful... I forget... Because it was a Soviet-made cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And say what you will about the Soviet regime, they did make some beautiful cartoons. And
But that's a whole nother conversation.
that's a whole nother conversation.
Can you separate the artist from the art?
Yes. You should. Well, it depends, like, is it propaganda or is it art?
Right. It's deep.
And this
deep
wasn't
debates.
propaganda. I mean, this wasn't technically propaganda. It was just, like, a retelling of a folktale.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a retelling of, and I loved it. I watched the whole thing because somebody dubbed it in English, and it's called The Frog Tsarevna, and it's about this czar who has 3 sons, and he gives them permission to marry, and they decide that they're going to marry by shooting an arrow, and wherever the arrow lands, they're going to find a woman and marry that woman. One shoots it, and it lands in a nobleman's house, and he marries the nobleman's daughter. The second son, he shoots it, it lands in a merchant's house, he marries the merchant's daughter. The third son, the youngest, it lands in a swamp at the base of a frog, and so he has to marry the frog. But he didn't know the frog was actually a beautiful princess, also called Vasilisa.
They love Vasilisa.
There's so many Vasilisas in Russian fairy tales because I went looking for stories of Baba Yaga, and there are so many Vasilisas.
That's such a funny name.
But anyways, he marries her, and then the Tsar says, I'm going to pick which of you is to be my heir, so I have tasks for you. And the first task was, like, weave me a tapestry. And the first one was okay. The second one was good, but this frog princess, she wove hers out of moonlight, and so it was exquisite. And then the second one was, like, to compose a piece, and the frog princess was the most exquisite because, like, she was like a fairy princess.
Okay.
And then he had this great feast, and the son was embarrassed to bring his frog, but at nighttime she was able to take on her human form, and they did this wonderful dance. And
Bitch, that's Shrek.
Yes. And the prince was so in love with her that he burnt her frog skin so she couldn't turn back. But the problem was she was cursed by Koschei the Immortal.
Mm-hmm.
And so Koschei the Immortal kidnapped her because, like, the curse has been broken but the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So the prince, who is also called Ivan, there's a lot of Vasilisas, there's a lot of Ivans in Russian fairy tales, goes to Baba Yaga for guidance, and he says, Babushka, how do I do this? And that's where she goes, oh, nobody's ever called me Babushka. They call me Baba Yaga, the bony-legged. And he tells him how to kill Koschei, the Deathless.
Okay, interesting.
I'm not going to reveal if he succeeds or not.
Now,
You're going to have to go watch it.
I have 2 questions for you. Do you think Baba Yaga is living in a mobile home? Do you think she's trailing trash
yes.
in a mobile home?
Yes, in the best way.
In the best way.
In the best way. Honestly, okay, what's your second question? And then final thoughts.
I forgot the second question.
Okay, final thoughts. And normally I'd ask you for your final thoughts first, but I'm so excited by this because I want to grow up to be a Baba Yaga. I just want to go live in the forest and be left alone and, like, to terrorize people who come to bother me. And if you have the nerve to come and ask me for advice, I'm going to invite you in and, like, make tea and dole out my wisdom.
We're, like, halfway there, girl.
I know we're halfway there. I just need the hut in the woods. I just need the kids to start talking about the witch in the woods.
I remembered my second question,
Yes.
though. Are you touching Baba Yaga's bony leg?
No.
Are you stroking that bone? Are you deep throating the bone? Okay.
No.
What do you think it tastes like?
I don't want to think about it.
I bet you... Do you know, like, that bone after you eat... Like a chicken wing bone?
Yes.
I imagine it probably tastes like that. The chicken wing bone.
Okay.
With less flavor. And I imagine the legs on her house might taste like that also.
Wild. I also realized I did an entire like slideshow picture to show you, and then the iPad stopped working. I forgot about it. So that's the photo dump made. So if you want to see pictures of Baba Yaga, go check out the photo dump.
My final thoughts on Baba Yaga.
Yes.
We stand, I'm living, I love fairy tales and I love things like that. So, loved hearing this story. I actually very much did enjoy that
Yes.
story. And we stand. Get into Baba Yaga. Get into Russian fairy tales, okay? Get into it.
And maybe like we'll start doing this like once every so many months, where we like take like a famous fairy tale character and like do a deep dive into the folklore of it.
That would be interesting, actually.
And just like do like we did, like a short like introduction, and then just start telling fairy tales. And hopefully we'll pick fairy tales that aren't as long as this one, because I actually picked out 3 others that were shorter, but like Vasilisa was too long, and I cut over half of it.
They love Vaseline girls in Russia.
All Russian stories are long.
Well, they got a lot to say, They've been through a lot of hard winters, a lot of things they got to let the
It's
people
because
know.
when the winter comes and there is no sunlight, you got to do something where you're drinking vodka by the fire.
Exactly.
But if you want to hear more Baba Yaga stories, let us know in the comments, and maybe like we'll do a Patreon, and that will be our first Patreon content. We just do like a fairy tale time.
Fairy time. It's very fitting, really. Very on the nose for us.
Fairy tale time.
Period. Coming soon to our Starbucks near you, maybe Arby's.
Coming, CUMING.
Period. All right.
Oh, anything else, Paul?
No, I think we did the damn thing.
Yeah, we did it. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming along on this crazy ride with us. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment wherever it is you are listening. If you have thoughts, feel free to text us. You can do so by going onto any of our audio platforms, clicking on the text us link. If you have personal stories, please email them to us, or otherwise just like if you just have comments, DM us. We love it that way. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram and TikTok at Paulember, Paulember. And as usual, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
And if you would like to follow me, you can do so on Instagram or on TikTok at The Real Deej Powers. And until next time, Vestrovna, keep your grips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye!
Spasiba.
Girl, if you ever speak another language, oh my god, forsaken podcast ever again, I'm gonna beat you like beef jerky.